If you shop at Morrisons, you need to hear this, because some of the most trusted items in your trolley are hiding ingredients no home cook would ever use. Products marketed as healthy. Products labelled fresh. Products your family eats every single week without a second thought. We investigated the full Morrisons range, from the deli counter to the chilled aisle, from the bakery to the condiment shelf. And what we found is deeply concerning. Contamination recalls, misleading labels, ultra-processed formulas dressed up as wholesome staples. These are the 10 worst Morrisons foods you should avoid, and by the time we reach number 1, you will understand why so many shoppers never saw it coming. 10. Morrisons reduced fat cheese. The healthy swap that is anything but simple. For years we have been told to cut back on fat, swap your full fat cheese for a lighter version, and you are doing yourself a favour. That is the message. That is the marketing. But the reality of reduced fat cheese is far less wholesome than the packaging suggests. When manufacturers remove fat from cheese, they do not simply leave you with a leaner product. They leave you with a product that no longer behaves like cheese. It does not melt properly. It does not taste right. It crumbles instead of slicing. So what do? They engineer it back into something resembling the original, using stabilizers, emulsifiers, gums and texture modifiers. Scientific research confirms that low-fat cheese production relies heavily on additives to compensate for what is lost. Stabilizers and fat replacers are routinely used to improve texture, and this practice is often followed by off-flavour development. Morrisons reduced fat cheese may save you a few grams of fat per serving, but in exchange, you are consuming a product that has been substantially altered from what cheese is supposed to be. Traditional cheese requires just 4 ingredients: milk, salt, enzymes, and cultures. What you find in many reduced fat versions reads more like a chemistry experiment. And here is the part they do not advertise. Studies show that full-fat dairy is associated with lower risk of cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, and even weight gain. The assumption that fat is the enemy has been challenged repeatedly by modern nutritional science. Yet the low-fat myth persists, and supermarkets continue to profit from it. Morrisons reduced fat cheese is not a health food. It is a processed product wearing a health halo. And the next item proves that the protein aisle is no safer. 9. Morrisons cooked chicken slices. The lunchbox staple that came with a metal warning. In June 2024, the Food Standards Agency issued an urgent recall. Morrisons wafer thin. Cooked chicken was pulled from shelves nationwide. The reason? Possible contamination with small pieces of metal. Both the 170-gram and 400-gram packs were affected, with all use by dates up to and including the 16th of June recalled. The FSA was blunt. Do not eat this product. Think about that for a moment. Families across Britain buying these slices for their children's packed lunches. Office workers grabbing them for a quick sandwich. And all that time, metal fragments may have been lurking inside the packaging. But even when there is no contamination crisis, these chicken slices are far from the simple protein source they appear to be. Turn over the packet, and you will find added water used to bulk up the weight, salt to extend shelf life and enhance flavour, and preservatives to keep the product looking fresh far longer than any real cooked chicken should. This is not chicken, as your grandmother would recognise it. This is chicken that has been injected, processed, sliced and packaged for maximum efficiency and minimum cost. The recall should have been a wake-up call. When metal can slip through the production line and end up in your child's lunchbox, it tells you everything about how these products are made. Not in a kitchen with care, but in a factory with speed. And yet millions of people continue buying these slices without ever questioning what they are really eating. If you want chicken for your sandwiches, cook a breast at home and slice it yourself. It takes 10 minutes, it costs less, and you will never have to worry about what else ended up in the packet. But the deception does not stop at the deli aisle. 8. Morrisons microwave rice pouches. Convenience in a packet, chemicals in your bowl. Microwave rice has become a kitchen essential for millions of British households. 2 minutes in the microwave and you have a side dish ready to serve. No measuring, no boiling, no waiting. It sounds perfect. But flip over that pouch and the ingredient list tells a different story. Take Morrisons Pilau microwave rice. What should be a simple combination of rice and spices contains sunflower oil, flavoring, stabilizer in the form of guar gum, and added salt. The Chinese-style version goes even further with glucose syrup, fructose, multiple soy sauces, sugar, and yet more stabilizers. These are not traditional rice dishes, they are ultra-processed products engineered for shelf stability and mass appeal. Plain dry rice contains exactly one ingredient: rice. It costs a fraction of the price per serving. It cooks in roughly 15 minutes. And it does not require sunflower oil, glucose syrup, or industrial stabilizers to make it edible. The convenience argument falls apart when you realize you are paying a premium for additives that add nothing to your health and everything to the manufacturer's profit margin. And then there is the sodium. Microwave rice pouches are often surprisingly high in salt. A single pouch can deliver a significant portion of your daily recommended intake before you have even added any main dish on top. For families trying to reduce sodium for heart health or blood pressure, these pouches work against every good intention. The marketing is clever, quick, easy, no mess. But what you gain in convenience, you lose in simplicity. Real rice is one of humanity's oldest staples. It does not need to be re-engineered with sugars, oils, and stabilizers to be enjoyable. It just needs to be cooked. But if you think rice is bad, wait until you see what they have done to yogurt. 7. Morrisons Greek style. Yogurt. The name suggests quality, but the product tells another story. Greek yogurt has a reputation. Thick, creamy, protein-rich. A health food that feels indulgent. But there is a crucial difference between Greek yogurt and Greek-style yogurt, and Morrisons is banking on you not noticing. Authentic Greek yogurt is made by straining regular yogurt to remove the whey, resulting in a naturally thick, protein-dense product. Greek-style yogurt skips that process entirely. Instead, manufacturers use thickeners, starches, and stabilizers to artificially create a similar texture. Look at Morrisons 0% fat Greek-style yogurt with strawberry. The ingredient list includes maize starch, pork gelatin, stabilizer in the form of pectins, acidity regulator, and artificial sweeteners, including sucralose and acesyl fame K. This is not yogurt as the Greeks would recognize it. This is a factory formulation designed to mimic thickness while cutting costs. The flavored varieties are even more concerning. Morrisons Greek-style yogurt with honey contains light brown soft sugar, corn flour, and concentrated lemon juice alongside the honey. The sugar and starch are doing the heavy lifting, not the dairy. And the zero-fat versions often compensate for the missing richness by loading up on sweeteners and texture modifiers. You remove the fat, you remove the satisfaction, and you replace it with additives that trick your palate into thinking you are eating something wholesome. Real Greek yogurt contains milk and live cultures. That is it. If you want the genuine article, look for products that list only those ingredients. If you see starches, gelatin, stabilizers, or sweeteners, you are buying a processed imitation, no matter how authentically the pot is designed. And speaking of healthy illusions, the chilled drinks aisle has its own deceptions. 6. Morrisons breakfast smoothies. The grab-and-go health drink that is closer to dessert. Smoothies occupy a special place in the modern diet. They feel virtuous, they look fresh. They promise fruit, vitamins, and energy in a convenient bottle. But the chilled smoothies lining supermarket shelves are often a far cry from the homemade versions they imitate. Take Morrisons Berrylicious Smoothie. The full product name reveals what you are actually drinking. A pasteurized blend of apple, red grape, and blackcurrant juices from concentrate, with banana, apple, raspberry, and acai purees. Notice the phrase "from concentrate." That means the original juice was heated, reduced, transported, and reconstituted with water. Along the way, much of the fiber, vitamins, and freshness was lost. What remains is essentially flavored sugar water with some fruit puree stirred in. A single serving of these smoothies can contain as much sugar as a can of cola. The sugars may be naturally occurring from fruit, but your body processes them the same way. Without the fiber that whole fruit provides to slow absorption, that sugar hits your bloodstream fast, spiking insulin and leaving you hungry again within hours. And the fiber content? Minimal. When fruit is juiced and concentrated, the pulp and skin that contain most of the beneficial fiber are stripped away. You're left with the sweetness but none of the substance. This is not breakfast. It is a sugar delivery system in a health halo. If you want a real smoothie, make it at home with whole fruits, a handful of oats and some natural yogurt. It takes 3 minutes. It costs less. And you will actually feel full instead of crashing by mid-morning. But if the drinks aisle is misleading, the bakery section is an outright illusion. Morrisons freshly baked in store bread. The bakery aroma that hides a factory secret. Walk into any Morrisons and the smell hits you immediately. Fresh bread, warm from the oven, crusty loaves cooling on racks. It feels like a traditional bakery. It looks like craftsmanship. But what you are smelling is often the final stage of a process that started in a factory, hundreds of miles away. The Real Bread campaign has investigated supermarket and store bakeries extensively, and the findings are damning. Much of what is sold as freshly baked is actually bake-off bread. Pre-mixed dough, often frozen, shipped in from centralised production facilities, and simply reheated in store to give it a crust and that freshly baked appearance. Some products arrive part-baked and need only minutes in the oven. Others come frozen and proved, ready to defrost and brown. The ingredients tell the real story. Industrial bread production relies on processing aids, emulsifiers, and dough conditioners that traditional bakers would never use. Enzymes derived from various sources help create fluffy texture. Emulsifiers like data esters stabilize the crumb structure. Antifungal agents extend shelf life far beyond what any natural loaf could achieve. And here is the regulatory loophole that enables this deception. Processing aids used during manufacture do not have to appear on the final label if they are deemed to be inactive in the finished product. This means you have no way of knowing what was used to create that loaf unless you ask directly. The Real Bread campaign found that among major supermarket chains, very few could confirm that any of their in-store bakery products were made without processing aids or artificial additives. The crusty exterior and soft interior you associate with fresh bread are often engineered results, not the product of time and craftsmanship. Real bread goes stale within a day or two because it is alive. If your supermarket loaf stays soft for a week, ask yourself what is keeping it that way. But the bakery is only the beginning. The soup aisle takes this deception even further. If you're learning something new here, hit subscribe and keep these eye-opening breakdowns coming. 4A. Morrisons ready-made soups. The quick lunch hiding a sodium overload. Soup should be simple. Vegetables, stock, seasoning. A warm bowl of nourishment. But supermarket ready-made soups have transformed this humble dish into something far more processed than the homely packaging suggests. Research published in peer-reviewed journals has confirmed that ready meals, including soups, tend to be high in saturated fat and salt. Morrisons' offerings follow this pattern. Take their lentil and bacon soup. The ingredient list includes modified maize starch, ham bouillon, with its own salt content, and additional salt listed separately. Multiple sources of sodium stacked on top of each other. Many of these soups rely on starches, rather than actual vegetables to create body and thickness. Modified maize starch is a common culprit, used to give the impression of heartiness without the cost of additional produce. You think you are eating vegetable soup. What you are actually consuming is starch suspended in salted liquid with vegetable flavouring. The NHS recommends adults consume no more than 6 grams of salt per day. A single serving of some ready-made soups can deliver a quarter or more of that limit. For anyone managing blood pressure, heart conditions, or kidney health, these soups work directly against medical advice, and the vegetables themselves are often present in disappointing quantities. Check the percentages on the label. That carrot and potato soup may contain far less actual carrots and potato than you would ever use at home. The rest is water, starch, and flavouring, designed to suggest wholesomeness. Making soup at home takes 30 minutes and costs pennies per serving. A pot of lentil soup requires lentils, onion, carrot, celery, stock and seasoning. No modified starches. No industrial flavourings. No hidden sodium bombs. But if the soup aisle is problematic, the ready meal section is where things get truly concerning. 3. Morrisons healthy ready meals. The diet-friendly label disguising a processing nightmare. low calorie, high protein, balanced nutrition. These are the phrases that sell millions of ready meals to health-conscious shoppers. But the healthy label on Morrisons ready meals is doing a lot of heavy lifting to distract from what is actually inside. Scientific analysis of supermarket ready meals across major UK chains, including Morrisons, found that overall, ready meals were high in saturated fat and salt and low in nutritional density. The healthy ranges perform better than standard options, but that is a low bar to clear. The problem with low-calorie ready meals is how they achieve that calorie reduction. Remove fat and you remove flavour. Remove flavour and you need to compensate. That compensation typically comes in the form of salt, sugar, flavour enhancers, and texture modifiers that make a reduced portion feel more satisfying than it actually is. Check the ingredient lists on these healthy options, and you will often find modified starches to bulk up portions without adding calories, flavourings to compensate for the missing fat, emulsifiers to maintain texture during freezing and reheating, and sodium levels that rival fast food. The portion sizes are another issue. Ready meals are often photographed to look substantial, but the actual contents can be surprisingly meagre. You finish the meal, hungry, reach for a snack, and end up consuming more calories than if you had simply eaten a normal portion of real food. And the processing itself raises questions. These meals are designed to be frozen, stored, transported, and reheated while maintaining appearance and texture. That requires industrial intervention at every stage. What arrives on your plate has been through a manufacturing process that no home kitchen could replicate. If you want a healthy meal, cook it yourself. It does not need to be complicated. Grilled chicken, steamed vegetables, and rice takes 15 minutes and contains ingredients you can actually pronounce. But perhaps the most surprising deception sits in the deli counter. 2. Morrisons deli counter. Coleslaw. The fresh-looking side that is anything but homemade. The deli counter exists to suggest freshness, glistening salads scooped from metal containers, helpful staff in aprons, the impression of food prepared on site with care. But Morrisons coleslaw tells a different story when you examine what is actually in it. The ingredient list for Morrisons creamy coleslaw reveals the truth: water, rapeseed oil, sugar, spirit vinegar, white wine vinegar, pasteurized liquid whole egg, stabilizers including gore gum and xanthan gum, salt, mustard powder, and preservative in the form of potassium sorbate. That is not a recipe. That is a formulation. Real coleslaw requires cabbage, carrot, mayonnaise, and perhaps a little seasoning. What Morrisons sells is a processed product where the mayonnaise itself is a manufactured blend of oils, stabilizers, and preservatives, mixed with shredded vegetables and packaged for extended shelf life. The sugar content is particularly noteworthy. Coleslaw does not need added sugar. Traditional recipes rely on the natural sweetness of fresh vegetables and the richness of egg-based mayonnaise. But industrial coleslaw uses sugar to enhance flavour cheaply and to help preserve the product during its extended life in the chilled cabinet. And those stabilizers and preservatives, they exist because real coleslaw separates and deteriorates within days. The supermarket version needs to survive transport, storage, display, and several more days in your fridge. That requires chemical intervention that would never appear in a home kitchen. The deli counter creates an illusion of freshness, but what you are buying has often been manufactured off-site, delivered in bulk, and simply transferred to those appealing metal containers. The staff may be friendly, the experience may feel personal, but the product is as industrial as anything in a sealed packet on the shelf. And the final item on our list is the one that hides in plain sight in almost every British kitchen. 1. Morrisons tomato ketchup. The cupboard staple that delivers sugar with every squeeze, ketchup is invisible. It has sat in British kitchens for so long that nobody questions it anymore. A squeeze on your chips, a dollop with your breakfast, a dipping sauce for the children. It feels harmless, it feels like tradition. But Morrisons tomato ketchup is delivering something you never consciously chose to consume: concentrated sugar with every meal. The ingredient list reads: water, concentrated tomato puree at just 25%, sugar, spirit vinegar, modified maize starch, salt, tomato powder, clove powder, and clove extract. Notice that water comes first, then sugar appears before any significant tomato content. You are essentially buying flavoured sugar water that has been thickened to resemble a sauce. A standard bottle of ketchup can contain sugar levels that rival desserts. Studies have confirmed that a typical bottle is approximately 20% sugar by weight. That means every squeeze delivers a dose of sweetness that accumulates invisibly throughout your day. On breakfast, on lunch, on dinner. Before you know it, ketchup has become one of your largest sources of hidden sugar. And the health implications are serious. Excessive sugar consumption is linked to weight gain, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, fatty liver disease, and chronic inflammation. Children are particularly vulnerable because ketchup trains their palates to expect sweetness with every savoury food. They grow up unable to enjoy natural flavours without that sugary enhancement. The marketing is masterful. Ketchup positions itself as a tomato product, benefiting from the health halo of vegetables, but the actual tomato content is minimal compared to the sugar, water, and thickeners that make up the bulk of the product. You think you are adding vegetables to your meal, you are adding confectionery, and nobody thinks twice. That is the real danger. The foods we never question are often the foods doing the most damage. We scrutinise ready meals and snacks, while the ketchup bottle sits unopened to criticism, delivering sugar to every family member at every meal. If you want tomato flavour, try passata, chopped tomatoes, or even a homemade salsa. Real tomatoes, real ingredients, no hidden sugar payload. Because the moment we stop accepting these processed imitations, the moment we return to real food, that is when we take back control of what we are actually eating.